On February 22, 1917, Sergeant Benito Mussolini is nearly killed in a World War I mortar accident.
But what was Mussolini's role in World War I? And how did he rise to power in Italy before World War II? Also, what is the origin of the word fascism, the name of his movement?
Mussolini was born in Predappio, Italy in 1883, the son of a blacksmith and a teacher. He was mostly self-educated and worked as a teacher and journalist. An outspoken pacifist and Marxist, he led demonstrations against Italy's war in Libya and was arrested and jailed for his efforts. Mussolini became head of the Italian Socialist Party in 1912 and was even praised by Russian communist leader Vladimir Lenin. When World War I broke out in 1914, Mussolini vocally denounced it, but he soon reversed position and broke with the Socialist Party. Mussolini began to advocate for Italy to enter the war on the side of the Allies, hoping his country could recover territory lost to Austria in the 19th century. Mussolini enlisted in the army and was sent to Italy's northeastern border. An expert marksman, he became a skilled sniper. During a training exercise, a mortar exploded, seriously wounding Mussolini and killing 4 of his fellow soldiers. He spent 6 months in the hospital, where 44 shell fragments were removed, and was thereafter discharged. Mussolini then moved to Milan and started a newspaper that he called Il Popolo d'Italia, the people of Italy. First and foremost, Mussolini's paper attacked anti-war advocates, which is ironic because when the war began, he was a fierce anti-war advocate. Mussolini began pushing a new right-wing ideology, and he and some fellow veterans established a group known as the Fasci Italiani di Combattimento, or the Fascists. The group was named for the fasces, an important symbol in ancient Rome made up of a bundle of rods and an axe head. The Romans used the fasces as a symbol of power and authority. A leader who had been given imperium, or the authority to speak and act in the name of Rome, utilized the fasces to demonstrate that imperium. Let's say, for example, that a governor of a Roman province were to meet with a foreign leader. When the Roman governor entered the place where the meeting was to be held, he would be preceded by a group of lictors, who would carry these fasces. This spectacle demonstrated the governor's authority as a representative of Rome. You often see the fasces as a symbol in artwork, in particular in American artwork. The House chamber in the U.S. Capitol has 2 large fasces flanking the speaker's seat. There is artwork featuring George Washington that includes the fasces. The most famous example is the late 18th century sculpture of Washington by Jean-Antoine Houdon, located in the rotunda of the Virginia State Capitol, which shows Washington standing next to the fasces. His cloak covers the axe head, symbolizing the idea that although he had great power, Washington chose not to abuse it. The sculpture of Abraham Lincoln at the Lincoln Memorial also features the fasces. 2 sets, in fact, flank him as a decoration on the front of his chair. Mussolini chose the fasces as a symbol because he wanted to promote the idea that he was ushering in a period of Italian glory on par with that of ancient Rome. It's the same reason he used the ancient Roman military salute and implemented archaeological digs to excavate Roman ruins. Many of the familiar monuments of ancient Rome were only partially visible before Mussolini came to power. The structures were either still buried or had been absorbed into the medieval structures of the city. These excavated monuments became showpieces in Mussolini's fascist urban theater. This excavation effort has also shaped how many of Rome's ancient monuments are experienced by tourists today. The road that runs from Piazza Venezia through the ancient Forum to the Colosseum was built by Mussolini and became a fascist parade route with the ancient monuments as a backdrop. Mussolini's fascist movement was extremely right-wing, aggressively anti-socialist, and fiercely nationalistic. Using ancient Roman symbols helped promote Mussolini's Italian nationalism. Mussolini's charisma and his abilities as a public speaker helped his fascist movement to grow rapidly. He forcefully attacked the treaties signed at the end of World War I. He felt Italy had been cheated in these treaties, and that the nation's leaders had let the people down. A major complaint that Mussolini had with the treaties was that, as one of the four victorious major Allied powers, he felt Italy had not gotten its fair share. During the previous century, Austria had seized territory in northeastern Italy that was seen as ethnically and geographically Italian. Mussolini and other Italians felt that Italy should have gained all of that territory back from Austria, which was on the losing side of World War I. Mussolini used this frustration over World War I as a propaganda tool, asserting that the treaties made it seem as if Italy had actually lost the war. Importantly, Mussolini gained the support of wealthy landowners, the army, the church, and Italy's monarchy. Mussolini organized a paramilitary group known as the Black Shirts. It was his personal militia, essentially a street gang. The Black Shirts used violence and intimidation against communists and anyone else who opposed Mussolini. In October 1922, just 4 years after the end of World War I, facing enormous pressure, King Vittorio Emanuele III appointed the 39-year-old Mussolini as prime minister. Once Mussolini was in power, he began working to erode democratic institutions and take away basic rights. In a 1925 speech to the Italian parliament, he essentially declared himself dictator. In just a few years, Italy had become a totalitarian fascist state. Mussolini became known as Il Duce, or the leader. If any of this sounds familiar, it's because Mussolini created a roadmap for Hitler to seize power in Germany. Hitler idolized Mussolini and wanted to do in Germany what Mussolini had done in Italy. However, it took Hitler a few years longer to accomplish his goals. It is borderline embarrassing how much Hitler copied Mussolini. Hitler, for example, copied Mussolini's Roman military salute. Mussolini had the black shirts. Hitler had the brown shirts. Mussolini was known as Il Duce. Hitler was Der Führer. Both mean the leader. Their relationship, however, began to change as Hitler became more powerful and more militarily successful than Mussolini. Allied troops invaded Italy in 1943. Many Italians, especially in the South, saw it as a liberation. Mussolini was soon deposed and imprisoned by the Italian government at the Hotel Campo Imperatore at the Gran Sasso ski resort in the Apennine Mountains. German troops, however, still controlled much of Italy. On September 12, 1943, Hitler sent a unit of German paratroopers and commandos on a high-risk secret mission to rescue his idol, Mussolini. German planes launched from an airbase near Rome. The planes towed 10 gliders, each carrying a pilot and 9 soldiers. Meanwhile, 2 paratrooper companies seized the valley station of the funicular railway that led to the resort. The 10 gliders landed on the mountain near the hotel, although one crashed, causing some injuries. The commandos quickly overtook those guarding Mussolini without a shot being fired. This was likely because the German troops had brought along Italian General Fernando Soletti as a hostage. Soletti had been captured by German troops soon after Mussolini's arrest in Rome. The general ordered the guards not to fire, and Mussolini was subsequently released. A German plane arrived and transported Mussolini to the airbase near Rome. He was then flown to Vienna and afterward to Munich. 2 days after the successful raid, Mussolini met with Hitler at the Wolf's Lair headquarters in Poland. the same location where Hitler would survive the 20 July assassination plot the following year. Hitler then installed Mussolini as essentially a puppet leader in still fascist-controlled northern Italy. By the end of the war, most Italians had turned on Mussolini. He was captured by partisans while trying to flee the country and executed on April 28, 1945. He was 61 years old. Mussolini's corpse was gruesomely put on display in Milan, highlighting the hatred now felt for him. Just 2 days later, Hitler chose suicide in part because he didn't want to suffer a fate similar to Mussolini's. Looking back, it's crazy to think how close Mussolini came to death from that mortar blast in World War I. Had Il Duce died that day, would it have prevented World War II? Would Hitler ever have come to power in Germany without Mussolini's example? It is one of the great what-ifs in history. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1732, American founding father George Washington is born in Westmoreland County, Virginia. In 1819, Spain agrees to cede Florida to the U.S. with the signing of the Adams-Onis Treaty. In 1960, black college students stage a sit-in at a lunch counter in Richmond, Virginia to protest segregation. In 1980, the underdog U.S. hockey team defeats the Soviets in the Miracle on Ice at Lake Placid. In 1998, 7 tornadoes kill 42 people in the deadliest tornado outbreak in Florida's history. In 2012, the groundbreaking is held for the Smithsonian's Museum of African American History and Culture. In 2022, AT&T shuts down its 3G network, causing many older devices to no longer function properly. And now, it's time for our Today in History quiz. Which scientist developed the polio vaccine? Alexander Fleming, Edward Jenner, Jonas Salk, or Louis Pasteur?
Liked learning about Benito Mussolini? Then you'll love this one about the 20 July plot to assassinate fellow fascist Adolf Hitler. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.